Good afternoon and welcome back to the workbench once again. So today I just want to do a quick little video about this camera and, well, about this power supply in fact. So a friend of mine brought this over because he wanted me to record a tape from this camera onto the computer and then give him the resulting file, which I have just done and which turned out quite well. I used OBS, Open Broadcaster, to do the recording. I'm using a cheap little USB capture card thing that he brought with him, and it didn't work with FFmpeg at all. It just kept crashing, although that works fine with this camera that I use for my videos, so I don't know. But anyway, OBS worked perfectly, and I managed to do the capture, but there was some little troubleshooting I had to kind of go through to start with before I was actually able to do a decent capture, and the problem basically came down to this power supply. Now, as it may be obvious, this power supply is not the original. It's far from it. And this Panasonic camcorder is an NV-VZ10. It's PAL format, VHS compact, old style thing. There's no battery there, and he was just running it off this power adapter. It's a multi-voltage thing. You can select between 3 to 12 volts, and he selected the option for 7 volts, which is close to what this needs, which is 7.9 on the input, or it runs off 7.2 volt battery pack. Not sure what chemistry that is. It's probably lithium. I don't think it's old enough to be nickel cadmium or anything, but anyway, yeah, this is a little sort of generic switch mode power supply thing, and claims to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 and 12 volts selectable via the switch on the side there, and it can do up to 1 amp apparently. For anyone interested, it's an Audio Sonic ZXT160. I have no idea where it came from. It does look pretty cheap and nasty, to be honest. So when I plugged it in, as I shall just do so now, the light comes on, it doesn't go bang, which is a good start. But if you plug it into the camera, everything seems to work. I can turn this on, and it does power up and everything just fine. But when I actually went to the software in here, why does this happen? It's like the fourth video I've done where I've tried to prove that something doesn't work, and when I go to do that, it works. Well, that's just typical. Now that I've actually set the thing up to demonstrate it and make a video all about it, it's decided not to do the thing that it was doing, which was getting a sort of hum bar effect going up and down the picture, of sort of oversaturated sort of noise coming in. Not really obvious, but it was obvious enough to be obvious, but not like a horrible corruption of the image or something, just a sort of a little bit of extra noise and a bar about this thick that sort of was going up and down depending on whether the tape was playing or not. And I figured that it was probably the power supply overloaded. I mean, this thing draws about an amp when it's running, so the thing was running at its maximum capacity. It's a cheap power supply. It is set for 7 volts, which could be a bit under what this actually needs. So I just figured that there was, a bit of noise ripple in the output of the power supply affecting the picture. Because, I mean, when I first started out, the plugging it in with this adapter, immediately I got the noise problem, and then switching straight to this, the noise immediately went away. So I figured it's got to be this power supply here that's causing some sort of problem. Now, I did decide, once I found that out, I decided to run off my benchtop power supply here, which I just clipped these wires straight into the battery terminal and just set that to 7.2 volts, and it worked perfectly fine. So I dumped the whole tape to the computer with that. So it was running for about an hour, and now it's working fine. So I wonder if maybe some of the filter capacitors in the camera itself possibly were in need of reforming or something, and just having it running for like an hour just sort of got them back into a better condition, and they can cope with the noise from this one, possibly. But there we go. Well, that's a bit pointless then, I guess, the video. I was hoping to show a good example of why why if you get, bad quality audio or picture or something, you got noise in it, it's always a good idea to check the power supply as well, obviously, and check to see if that's not outputting a whole lot of noise, because if your power supply is bad and dried up capacitors, or it's overloaded, or something's faulty with it, or broken noise suppression components, or if it's a cheap power supply like this one, I suspect it maybe just doesn't have any noise suppression. Might not have very good filtering on the output. It might just be, just a diode and capacitor, and no inductors or anything, no sort of decent filtering. And so that's something to look out for, is if your power supply is not working properly, or it just isn't good quality. You can get problems with video or audio and that, but now it seems that the problem has just magically gone away as soon as I try to film it. So I might as well finish up here and say, well, maybe this video will actually be uploaded. And if it does, well, I'm sorry I couldn't actually demonstrate the problem, but you'll just take my word for it that there was in fact a problem, and it's a pretty common thing. Picture noise, audio noise. Don't immediately suspect it's actually the audio circuit or the video circuit or whatever else it could be that's the problem. It could just be the power supply is the problem, Every electronic thing has to have good power, and if it doesn't, then you never know what can happen. All sorts of really weird problems can be caused by bad power supplies. Things you'd never expect. I'm trying to think of some good examples, but of course everything eludes me now that I've confused myself with trying to make a video about something that I can't exemplify. So, oh well. If it happens again before I have to give this back or whatever, then I guess I'll see if I can add that in at the end. But apart from that, that's about all there is. So, what else can I say? Apart from the fact it's useful to have a adjustable benchtop power supply. You can just hook up a thing to a battery terminal of whatever you want to power, and just dial in the voltage you want. Works quite well. And of course the meter on here has told me it was drawing about 1 amp, so that was useful. But there we go. I guess that's it for that one. And not the most interesting video in the world, but hey, it's something. See you next time.